Hello, welcome to the office. I'm Maame Esi Thompson, and once again we are happy to have you here with us. One of the biggest challenges of parenthood is caregiving, which has often been the responsibility of women. Now, this responsibility could influence the employer who wants to hire. And when it comes to this, hiring a woman of a childbearing age means that you have to be prepared to let the child go on, to let the woman go on maternity leave, let her go home early, and even exempt her from going on official assignments outside the office. And so as a result of this, to address this bias, there's been a call for a mandatory paternity leave for men as well. Come to think of it, is paternity leave a great idea for your offices to begin to consider? Well, this afternoon I'm bringing this to the front burner, and I'm sure you already started the debate in your offices already. With me here are my lovely guests, Mr. Kofi Essel. He's the Chief Regulatory Officer with Food and Drugs Authority. And I have with me on my left, Mr. Robert Amoafo with Amnesty International. He's the director there. We'll also be happy if you can join in with your comments and your questions. We'll be glad to have them. And be my guest. We are live here on the Green Building on 355 Fanufa Street. And also I'm sitting in for Yaya Kofi, who will be joining us next week. Now, to start this whole conversation, let me start with Mr. Robert Amoafo. How are you?
I'm doing amazing.
Thank you so much for joining us. What is paternity leave?
So paternity leave is just a period, of course, like for women, a period where you would give the man some time to spend with the child when the wife or he goes to adopt a child, or he does IVF, surrogacy, and the child is born. The father may need some time with the child to be able to spend time and help ensure that the child gets the care and attention that the child needs. The child needs. Yes.
I know this practice is going on in some Scandinavian, European countries, like Sweden and the rest, where the father has even about 3 months paternity leave. But why now in Ghana? Why that call for Ghana? I know Amnesty has been calling for this. Why?
As we call for equality amongst the genders that we recognize in Ghana, we see that there's a need for us to ensure that we create a space for everybody. Now, it's beneficial to both parties. I mean, even for the employer, because at the end of the day, if a father is able to spend time with the wife and the child, it creates the family bond that we need. Two, sometimes there are complications with a woman and she may need assistance. You know, now we are dealing more with nuclear families, and sometimes it's difficult for the woman to get the mother and the aunties to come over. All of us are working, and mothers, some grandmothers are in the market selling and all of that. So leaving their work to come, so the responsibility of the father to be the caretaker of the child is very important. Now we are advancing in the way we get children. Of course, there's adoption. If I am a man, I adopt a child. I don't have a wife. Maybe I've divorced, or I'm a single parent. I may need time with my baby or the child that I've adopted. Now there's IVF, artificial insemination. Now men are going to have women, other women give them children. That the women are not going to take care of the child. The child is going to be for the man alone. So these are the reasons why we are advocating that we need to create space, even for the benefit of the woman, who would have to get her hands off, rest if she needs, take time to talk with the man, and then bond with the child with the man. It's a very important space for us. That's why we're advocating that at least employers should start thinking about the need to create a space for men to not feel left behind in this process of bringing up a child and bonding with the child at the beginning when the child comes to being.
The men in Ghana, are they the ones, are they the ones pushing for this? I mean, I've not really heard that the men are pushing. I mean, I've done a little, you know, research asking about, is it a popular request among the men in Ghana for this thing to actually hold?
You see, we have the kind of gender setting we have in Ghana, the masculinity and the paternity and the man thing sometimes gets into our head, and it makes it difficult for us to accept certain facts. You know that it's always good for us to put in place some space for the man to also feel free. Unless we create the attention, now we are creating the awareness. Now men would have to understand, why do I need a paternity leave? Of course, this has been the standard for a long time. Now you're telling me I need a paternity leave. Why do I need it? That's why we are continuing the advocacy to remind them that one, they have a role to play in the upbringing of their children. Two, I mean, of course, sometimes they are, some of them have to run away from work to be able to go and get medication for their wives and all of that. Even, you know, this paternity we are asking for is not only when the child is born. Sometimes the woman is in the hospital. She may need some attention. Medication is to be sent. The man is at work and he can't leave the office, because when he leaves, he has to
but
talk
if the
about...
woman is in the hospital, she needs that kind of attend. There are nurses to attend to her.
You would
necessarily have to have her husband be
You would
better.
agree with me that there are certain medications that need to be bought. There are certain consents that need to be given, that we need the presence of a man. I mean, when we get to the nitty-gritties of what we call paternity leave, we would go deeper and I'll explain some of the things that goes into paternity leave, especially because of the nature of which in which it comes.
Right, let me go to Mr. Kofi Essel. Mr. Essel, you're a father.
Yes.
You have 3 beautiful children.
Sure.
Are you really interested in paternity leave?
Well, certainly if I'm given time to stay with the family and then a situation where we can bond better.
Yes.
I mean, who wouldn't love it? But I'm also looking at it in the area of the effect of that if it becomes a policy for government to adopt, you know, on productivity generally, taking into account the fact that there's a huge disparity between the workforce that we have in Ghana, those in active service, I mean, between the genders. And so if you have more men at work than you have women working, I mean, in all sectors. And the men also want to take leave. What would be the period of time of the leave for the men? If you are saying 90 working days, and the women also go for 90 working days. I'm in the office with my wife, and then she gives birth. Let's even start with the time that she gives birth. And we both exit. Because my wife has delivered, she's going to stay at home. And I know what they do is that they even add the annual leave to the maternity leave. And so they end up, you know, staying out of the office
and if the woman has twins, she has even more additional time.
And then moreover, in the public service, my understanding is that if the child is even born after the maternity leave, the woman closes, I think, much earlier than her colleagues for another period of 6 months or so. And so you can see the effect on productivity as far as these leave systems are concerned. And for whatever reason, I mean, whether we like it or not, it's become a man's world somehow. And so that in itself, and then childbearing and what have you, has become one of the main factors for even engaging certain genders in certain workplaces. So I'm beginning to wonder, I mean, the extent of embrace, if we want to even look at this. I'm looking at it from the point where the man can decide, my wife is expecting around this period. Let me take my leave to coincide with the delivery of my baby. So I can be around. But interestingly, I was in another program somewhere where this issue came up. And I was overwhelmed. The number of women who voted against their husbands taking their leave or being given paternity leave to come and join them. At home. And we were wondering why. And the reason is that they become more like bigger babies to be catered for. So is it a situation where most of the Ghanaian men, we are catered for by our wives, and then we are unable to take care of ourselves? You know, I know some men.
You men can't take care of yourselves, or when you go home, you're not going to take that responsibility of taking care of the children?
Well, I think it's our upbringing. It's our upbringing. And so it's a whole paradigm shift in a way we bring up the boy child. If the cultural settings allows the boy child to have a fields day, when the girls are taking care of other household chores, and then the boy is allowed to have free time, go play with friends and all that. You know, so from the onset, he builds that character.
Okay.
That, I mean, I'm not responsible for anything at home.
So that means it's going to be very difficult.
It will be going very difficult. I don't think it will be too late. You know, personally, I would have loved to be with the family most of the time.
Okay.
But interestingly, you may also have some responsibilities in the office that may make it very difficult.
Okay.
Okay. How many times haven't we shelved our leave period because there are other national demands on it, on us? I can imagine the president taking a paternity leave. If he happens to be a young father, taking a paternity leave, how many months as a president, and then leaving the scene for that period of time to go be with the wife to take care of the child and all that. So it can be worked out, but I think it may be it's a very interesting area that we are venturing in, and let's the public, you know, debate about this, and I think we'll get somewhere.
Let me ask you, Robert. Yes. These are very interesting points Mr. Essel has raised. How practical will it be? I mean, already there are people who aren't even buying into the idea in the first place. And there's a deep traditional culture where the men are, you know, supposed to go out there, bring in the resources and everything. How are you going to be successful at this? So
first, to address the point that this measure is also a key to take away that idea of gender imbalance. Okay. You know, that gender imbalance, the idea that the man does this, the woman does this, and this is where the woman must be and this is where the man must be. Once you create this space where, okay, I have leave. Of course, we know that it is not the man that gave birth to the child, naturally. What we are saying is that, of course, give them space. So I'll give you an example. It's quite unfortunate I've forgotten who this is, but there was a country's prime minister, a lady who gave birth. And she's a prime minister, she's giving birth. She needed to attend to a UN meeting, but she wanted to go herself. At that period, the man, she needed help. And she needed somebody to be with her who could support. She couldn't trust anybody.
Where was the baby's father?
Exactly. So that is what I'm going to say, that the man was with her. Even it was shown all over the world that the man was sitting in the UN floor, on the UN floor, with the baby, whilst the woman was speaking. So it was a very beautiful picture they've now posted at the UN, where the woman was speaking and the man was with the baby behind her. How beautiful is that, you know? And we are saying that, of course, we're mentioning about taking your normal leave. We want there to be balance for the men as well. Have your leave for vacation. You know, we are talking about healthcare. You're talking about bonding. You're talking deeper things than just thinking about gender issues. Deeper things like, I will have my 30-day vacation leave to go and chill and rest and have my time and come back. The paternity leave is for work. It is for you to go and take care of the child. Now, women saying that the man is a bigger baby. Now, that is why we are saying that within that period, we are all discussing that we would create a space where the woman has to approve.
Wow, that's interesting. Can you hold that thought right there? We've also been soliciting the views of the public on this particular subject. We'll be going there to listen to what they also have to say.
Or spouse who have a child at a certain time of the year could arrange to have his annual leave to coincide with the coming of that baby. But I'm not sure that we want to engage that. It is not workable.
The world is changing, and in other places, more advanced countries, it is happening. So I think that if it is here, it shouldn't be a problem. The duration I won't be able to know, but maybe when your powers that be decide when and how it should be done, I believe that it can be incorporated into things that organizations do. And I think the organizations can use that to poach the best talents. We have, say, a 90-day paternity leave if you come work with us. So that will help to draw the best talents around.
Prime Real Entertainment. Joy Prime Real Entertainment.
Back, and those were interesting views from the public there, but let's go back to Robert to explain to us the point he was raising about women having to assent to their husbands going on leave. How's that going to take shape?
So, of course, if you say you want paternity leave, in other jurisdictions like in the UK, you have a 1 week or 2 weeks. At my workplace at Amnesty, every man has 2 weeks paternity leave.
Okay.
I mean, in our bigger offices, there are more days for the people. But in Ghana, you know, our sensitivity, so we reduce the days. In some settings where the woman, you say that my wife needs support, I need to go and support my wife. I can't take this from my vacation.
Okay.
So I need to go and help my wife. Well, you have a paternity leave request. Now your wife who is requesting for that support needs to assent and say, yes, I need my husband here at this time, so that he will support me. So that it takes care of this consent of my husband will come home and play with go and play game while the baby is crying when I'm tired.
Is it that when the woman accents, is there a way to report back whether the man indeed played his role as a father?
Of course, I mean, we can put measures in place, but it is not ideal for me. That is their privacy. That is the man, the woman's privacy. Okay. If the woman thinks that at this time the man wasn't helpful, I'm not sure the next time she will assent to that thing anymore.
Right.
Or, of course, there are other ways of getting to know whether the man. But we will advise that if it ever happens, nobody should go into their privacy. We also preach their right to privacy.
Great.
Yes.
Mr. Essel.
Well, I think already you may have systems like leave that can be extended even beyond your normal holiday leave.
Okay.
Okay, but what do you call it? Compassionate leave.
Yes.
Something happens and then you can't do anything about it. Your wife is at home, she's delivered, she's been hospitalized, she's gone through surgery and then she needs some support.
But those are exceptional cases.
Yes, I understand. What I'm trying to say is that beyond, I don't want to sound like an employer, but because most often employers, and probably you are trying to get my position on this paternity leave policy and what have you. If employers will be flexible enough, even if we don't have formally a policy on paternity leave, but employers will be, sympathetic enough, understand the dynamics, and then make it such flexible that people can enjoy some leave. You mentioned about a week or 2, just to be with the wife, born with the children. I don't think it should be anything very difficult. But if you make it a demand, it is my right to take that leave and all that. In some institutions, for instance, even your annual holiday leave, at times,
to access.
And where people in situations where people are even selling on their leave period for money, So he has a paternity leave, or before you realize, he is converting that to some financial gains from the employer. And so it's a very beautiful debate. I don't think the debate will end here.
No,
like I mentioned, at other fora, we have heard and it's been discussed about this whole thing.
But what makes it interesting that you raised that the women are not really interested in their husbands going on paternal leave?
See, there is something difficult, something peculiar about the Ghanaian women. It's all about our culture.
Okay.
I get my point.
Yeah.
I mean, situations where, you even want to extend a hand, support a lady at home and things like that. She's brought up to feel like you don't have to allow your husband, if your mother comes to see your husband doing certain things. And we have had stories where mother-in-laws have, chastised their daughters because they came to meet their sons-in-laws washing dishes. I get my point.
Yeah.
That no. Even when the woman has just delivered, the mother-in-law still expects the daughter to be doing things that she will be doing if she had not even delivered.
Yeah.
And that makes it quite difficult. So I think we need to start with the cultural settings. Let us begin to work along that line. Start with the men taking up certain responsibilities at home. Let's push that agenda. Even from the boy child that is growing up now. We may be corrupted adults. I mean, there's nothing you can do about us again. We will not change our mindset.
Sure.
But our boys who are growing up, let us begin to change their mindset. Because if it is about gender balances and all that, then we will expect that the men will understand we are equally responsible for what our wives, our women are responsible for, and the women should equally do same. And then we grow up with that kind of mindset.
Right. So I'll be coming back to both of you. Let's share some views from people on Joy Prime official Facebook page. From Mushsina Mahmood, he says, have men too started giving birth? Now, Josephine Adoma Abebio says, why? I don't think so. To buttress your point that you're raising, he says, because the man is not going to breastfeed the baby. Paternity leave from Shankar Kletu says, for what? And then Irabna Unbreakable says, hell no. Theirs is to work, eat, sex, and sleep. So I don't see what will add to they being on leave. Is it to help breastfeed? You know, I think there's this interesting view about paternity leave or maternity leave just being for the mothers to breastfeed. And so if the fathers are not going to breastfeed and all that, it's not necessary. Is there a way to, you guys have been able to measure the impact of having fathers go on paternity leave?
Yes, so then, like I said before, these issues are deeper than we are making them look like just a gender issue. Like I said, it's more of a gender, deeper rooted things like how they are, what's being mentioned about the fact that you see, how do we see ourselves as people? And then also the idea that it is an opportunity for families to bond, you know, families to understand and know each other, the father to know. And then also remember that our society is changing. It is no more only the mother giving birth. It is now somebody giving birth for a man to go and adopt, or a man paying money. I know men who have paid huge amounts of money to get people pregnant, and they don't even know the woman. You know, they don't know that all they want is produce the baby, let me come for the child, and let me own the child. And that's it. So if we understand the changes that are happening in our society and our community and the need for these things. So if there's no paternity leave, then when a man gets an adopted child, what happens? Or goes to do IVF, what happens? And that, do they take their 30? Is it equal? Because if I am taking my 30 days holiday leave to go and take care of my child, and my colleague can take his holiday 30 days to go and do whatever he wants, then what happens? Are we equal? You know, and even the upcoming International Women's Day's theme is balance, with the need for balance. You know, exactly. So we need to look at all these issues and address them accordingly.
Okay, so thank you so much. I think we can take some questions from here. Anybody with a comment or a question about the topic we are discussing, we'll be glad to have your comments. Selwyn, you'd like to ask a question about? Thank you.
It's normally leave for women to go and take care of their kids, but I don't know why men actually also need paternity leave.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Selwyn. Can you answer?
Yes, so men, like we've said, men need paternity leave to ensure that they are part of the process of the child rearing. And most importantly, that they are there for their wives. And to address other issues of this issue of this is a woman's thing, you know, because now we are all growing and we are becoming different. Now there's a change, like I mentioned also, there's a shift in our society. People are becoming independent and alone. Some men want to be on their own, maybe have concubines and other people, but still want to have a child. They don't want to get married. Now marriage, people are afraid of marriage, about divorce and things, but they still want to have a child. So what space are we creating for them to also have opportunity for themselves?
Mrs. I will come to you.
Well, interestingly, you know, let me sound a typical Ghanaian African man. Amnesty International will have international view about modern lives and what have you.
Yes.
And then if we want to be a very conservative cultural entity, you know, understanding the concept of families and family settings and what have you, I will be a very strong advocate against, you know, men wanting to be alone and wanting to adopt a child and what have you. If you want to be alone, be alone. Don't go and pick a poor child, and we're talking about, I stand for exclusive breastfeeding.
Okay.
And so at what age is the man adopting that baby? Because we want the baby to be breastfed from day 0 to 6 months old. And so you want to take paternity leave. Where's the breast milk?
But what about an instance where the man's wife passes on, is not able to breastfeed, or doesn't have breast milk?
We are even looking at, there have been other studies that have even shown that children should be, taken care of, not in children's home, but within family settings. And so do away with all these children homes concept and all that. Why are we coming back to it? Because we realize that children that are brought up in a family settings, grow up understanding human feelings and all that better than. And so if we try to, disturb the natural, workings, environment in terms of cultural settings and all that, we should also be prepared to bear the consequences.
So do you see it as we are trying to bring the international scene into our traditional...
Unfortunately, you see, we are getting westernized, whether we like it or not. Okay? And we entertain. They are so beautiful. They may sound very beautiful. It is something that people are doing because we travel outside, we adopt their culture and all that. But don't let us forget our roots, what our understanding of the family settings is. It is a man and a woman who have to be married, live in a home. Why are people divorcing? What is the reason for this high rate of divorce? Let us go into that. Let us discuss it. We should be able to accommodate one another and live. Our fathers got married, they lived together 50 years plus before they died and all that. Why are we getting divorced so early in life? That is what we should consider.
Sure. Why are we getting so... Your last words in a minute.
If you talk about, you've said a lot of things that buttress upon the need for paternity leave. One, the idea that children need to live in a family setting, need to grow up in a family setting. If we need more time for our kids, remember that this thing is also advocating that men should still have their annual leave aside any other leave that they will spend with their children, and then also the idea that we are having people who are single. You can't take it out of the system. The idea that some people believe that it's not a matter of westernized. It's a matter of being aware that now I don't need a family. I don't necessarily need a family to live as a human being. I can live alone. I can create a family with 2 children as a man or as a woman alone. I can have 2 children and live as a family. So a family is not defined by a man, woman, and a child. A family can be a man and a child, a woman and a child, and so it's we have to understand that before we went out, it's not we are bringing international or we are bringing Western. We were not aware of these things, and now we are becoming more aware, and therefore we must create a space to bring in the fact that we are aware now.
Right. Thank you so much. Very interesting points that have been raised. It's been exciting having you. One school of thought would say that, yes, we agree that there should be paternity leave so that the men can have time with their children. Another 2 things is a paradigm shift. We are okay. We are taking care of our children well. And so it's not necessary to really bring in, even if we want to do that, then that means there has to be some kind of, a lot of thoughts and conversations going on. Know how to infiltrate that into our system. Well, I've learned a lot. I've heard a lot. I understand that you also have been, going on with the conversations out there. We are so glad that you joined us. It's been exciting having you. Thank you so much, Mr. Essel. Thank you so much, Mr. Amoafo. It's been a lovely time in the office. I am Maame Esi Thompson. See you.